After my fiancé ran off with his little canary, his older brother came to negotiate with me on behalf of the family. I was just about to call off the engagement when a row of bullet comments suddenly popped up in front of my eyes. Baby sis, don't call off the engagement. Look at your eldest brother-in-law, he's liked you for years. He even put on a shirt garter just to see you today. It's cinched so tight. This is the scene where the villainess uses the threat of breaking off the engagement, which makes the male lead get dragged back by his family to marry her. From then on he hates the villainess, and in the end he destroys her family completely, leaving them ruined. The villainess is so foolish. The villain might look like an iceberg, but in truth he's secretly addicted to you. Every night he can, just by looking at your photo. A textbook Yandra loyal dog. As long as you smile at him, his suit pants are about to burst. I changed my tone, looked at the man in front of me with his gold-rimmed glasses, cold and restrained, and couldn't help saying, how about we give it a try? The moment I finished speaking, the bullet comments exploded. I didn't mishear that, did I? The villainess actually took the initiative to propose a marriage alliance with the villain? Is the CPI ship finally going canon? Spoiled heiress versus Yandra villain, this pure evil CP is so satisfying, I'm taking 1 billion bites. The villainess had better be serious. Don't you dare tease him and then run. The props in the villain's house are no joke. Props? What props? Before I could figure it out, the man's voice pulled my thoughts back. Miss Keller, what do you mean by that? David Fisher's thin lips parted slightly as he looked at me expressionlessly, which made me wonder if the bullet comments were lying to me. After all, from the past to now, David has never shown even the slightest interest in me. Otherwise I wouldn't have chosen Noah Fisher before. That's right, I didn't choose Noah as my marriage partner because I liked him. It was because he looked easier to handle. Unlike David, who's cold to everyone, flawless on the surface, and impossible to read in private. I'm afraid that if he sold me, I'd still be the one helping him count the money. When our gazes met, David calmly looked away. He picked up his coffee and took a sip, the Adam's apple in his throat rolling slightly. Bullet comments, the villain is totally acting. His heart is practically pounding out of his chest. A man who usually buttons his shirt all the way to the top has undone it down to the 3rd button today, all because the villainess once said she liked good bodies. Villainess, stop staring at him. If you keep looking, he's really going to lose it. That last line made me take a few more looks at David. I only then realized that he really was a little different today. The black shirt he wore was a size smaller than usual, outlining his firm muscles and narrow waist. The 3 undone buttons revealed a tantalizing hint of his solid chest, rising and falling with every breath. How had I never noticed David was this well-built before? Suddenly David shifted his posture, crossing one leg over the other and resting his hand on his thigh. I glanced at the slight bulge along the edge of his suit trousers and curled my lips. Sure enough, he was wearing a shirt garter. His gaze darkened, his voice turning a little hoarse. What is Miss Keller looking at? I couldn't help wanting to tease him. I'm looking at you, Mr. Fisher. You seem to be in pretty good shape. Do you have an 8-pack? Can I touch it? In the next second, David's pupils contracted. His hands clenched subconsciously, veins standing out sharply on the backs of them. Bullet comments, villainous, stop teasing him. If you keep going, the villain is going to explode. Thank goodness the villain is quick-witted and used his leg to cover it up. Otherwise he'd be embarrassing himself right now. They're not even together yet and it's already this sweet. I'm really afraid the villain will lose control and just do the villainous right here and now. So that's why Miss Keller wants to give it a try with me? David asked. I shrugged carelessly. We're going to form a marriage alliance anyway. It's the same no matter who I pick. What matters most is a strong union. It benefits both of us, doesn't it? When he heard that, his expression darkened. Marriage is not a game, Miss Keller. You'd better think it over carefully. I'm in no hurry. You can give me your answer in a few days. With that, David stood up and left. Bullet comments, boo-hoo, the villain is so pure-hearted. Even though he's madly in love with the villainess, he still wants her to marry the one she truly likes. Speaking of which, why is the villain walking away so fast? What else could he be doing? With the state he was in just now, he's definitely gone off to deal with it while staring at the villainess's photo. Don't forget he once secretly stole her stockings. All right, there's a bit of pure love, but not that much. In the car, I had already figured out that this world was originally a kept canary pampered wife novel. Noah and his canary Elizabeth are the male and female leads. And David and I are the early dead vicious villainess and the villain. In the original story, even though I brought up breaking off the engagement this time, I still ended up marrying Noah. Because I was jealous of Elizabeth, I kept scheming against her, spreading rumors that she was a homewrecker. In the end Elizabeth couldn't take it anymore, ran off overseas with a baby in her belly. Noah couldn't find her and took out all his hatred on me, imprisoning me until I died. And David, Noah's half-brother, became the biggest villain in the book in order to avenge me, fighting the male and female leads to the bitter end. When I saw that, I couldn't help but laugh. This really was the old-school tyrant CEO formula. Every male lead is basically a walking crime scene. Although I don't believe I would really end up like that, to stop the plot from pushing me along, I still called the company's PR department. I had them issue an official statement announcing that Noah and I were breaking off the engagement, leaving no room for things to turn around. When I got back to the office and had just sat down, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was a video from an unknown number. In the video, Noah sat on a club sofa, idly twining a lock of Elizabeth's hair between his fingers. Someone asked, "Brother Noah, your fiancé just released a statement calling off the engagement. Are you sure you're not going back to put out the fire?" Noah let out a short, derisive laugh, his tone full of smug certainty. "You all really think she'll break off the engagement? It's just a trick to force me to go back. She was so desperate to become my fiancé before, wasn't it because she liked me? This is just her way of making me go back and coax her. I just won't go back. She'll definitely come crawling back later, begging me to marry her." As soon as he finished, Noah's buddies all started praising him. "Not a surprise, your brother Noah, even the Keller family's eldest young lady has become your simp." Elizabeth's eyes reddened. "It's all my fault. I ran out on my own and made Sister Nancy Keller copy me like this. Brother Noah, you should go back. Don't come see me anymore. We were never meant to be together." As she spoke, she tried to push Noah away, but he only held her tighter. "I'm here. What are you afraid of? She's just a cheap imitation. We'll have our fun for a few more days before going back. We'll teach her a lesson so she won't dare bully you again." When he finished, Noah lowered his head and pressed his lips to Elizabeth's, surrounded by the whistles of his buddies. The video cut off abruptly. I burst out laughing. No wonder they're the male and female leads. While I'm here worrying about how to minimize the fallout from the broken engagement, they're off starring in their own little drama. They've clearly had too many pregnancy protection shots. There's nothing in their world except love. Right then, the bullet comments were rolling by again. Am I the only one who finds the male and female leads disgusting? The female lead knows perfectly well the male lead has a fiancé, and she still clings to him. If that's not being a homewrecker, what is? Same here. She feels so fake sweet. I really can't stand these pampered wife heroines. If you're not the one being loved, you're the homewrecker. The male lead truly loves the heroine. The one who should back off is the villainess. Can you people get some morals? And it's not like the heroine wants this. Every time it's the male lead who forces himself on her. She has no choice but to give in. If we call it forced, I've never really seen the heroine resist. Every time she gives him a half-hearted push and then ends up in bed with him. Anyone would think she's flirting. Disgusted by the heroine +1. To the one upstairs defending her, I hope that if your husband cheats someday, you'll be just as willing to bow out. After all, you'd be the one not loved then. I ignored whatever the bullet comments were saying. I was only thinking that I really should hurry up and get married, so I wouldn't keep getting shoved forward by the plot. At that thought, David's face surfaced in my mind again. This man dies in the end on my grave. I picked up the phone and called my secretary. Within half an hour, I want everything you can find on David Fisher. Half an hour later, I had a thick stack of files in my hands. From David's birth and schooling all the way to his current work schedule, everything was in there. This man's private life was clean to the point of being ridiculous. There were almost no women around him. Even his assistant and butler were men. If not for the bullet comments, I really would have suspected David didn't like women at all. Bullet comments, the villain really observes male virtue. Other than working, he just thinks about the villainous. Whenever he gets worked up, he deals with it alone. I actually feel sorry for him. It's just a pity that tonight the villain is about to be drugged by a business partner. To stay clear-headed, he'll have no choice but to lock himself in his room and drag a knife across his own body, one cut at a time. Just picturing the way the villain will be half dead by the time his assistant rushes in to save him makes me almost too scared to watch. My hand paused on the stack of files. I thought of David's face, that expressionless calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. What would David be like after being drugged? I was a little curious. Just then my phone rang. It was my best friend Jess. "Nancy, I heard you announce the breakup of the engagement. Good for you. Men who can't keep their hearts in one place should have been kicked long ago. Give it a few days and I'll introduce you to a few even better ones." There was noisy sound on her end. She was obviously in a bar. I casually humored her with a few words. The bullet comments had already revealed the name of the hotel David was currently in. I suddenly asked, "Do you know how to seduce a man?" "What?" Jess clearly couldn't believe her ears. She'd been around the block more than a few times, going through men like a half-month disposable, but hearing that question piqued her interest. What kind of man actually needs our Miss Keller to personally go after him? I glanced down at the files in front of me and slowly spat out 3 syllables. A repressed guy. Jess burst out laughing on the other end. With that type, you don't need to say anything. Just lure him straight into bed, strip his clothes off, and that's that. Trust me, the more composed a man looks on the surface, the rougher he is in bed. And so, armed with Jess's advice, I arrived outside the hotel. I hadn't even reached the private room when I saw David being half-dragged out by the female secretary of our business partner, dead drunk. The woman was wearing a deep V blouse and a tight pencil skirt, clearly well prepared. David frowned and pushed her away, but as she moved to cling to him again, I stepped in first and caught hold of him. His face was flushed. When he saw me, the tension in his brows eased. Nancy, is that you? Bullet comments, oh ho, this morning it was all Miss Keller, and now that he's drunk he's calling her Nancy, just like that. The villain really is a repressed guy. Did I see that right? Why is the villainess here? In the original plot there wasn't even a scene for her at this point. Who cares? She's here now, and our villain is saved. Villainess, don't you dare let this drunk villain off the hook. Listen to your best friend, strip him down and bully him hard. We'd love to watch. I gave the female secretary a pleasant smile. I'm David's girlfriend. Just leave him to me. She still didn't want to back down, but one look at the bodyguard standing beside me, and she could only grit her teeth and walk away, clearly unwilling. I had no idea where David lived, so I could only book him a room at the front desk. They needed his ID, and no matter how many times I asked David, he wouldn't respond. I had no choice but to slide my hand into his trouser pocket and search for it myself. It took quite a while before I finally found it. His body felt even hotter now, his breath fanning across my face. It was an effort just to haul him onto the hotel bed. I was just about to loosen his tie when my wrist was suddenly caught. Don't touch. David's voice was hoarse, his eyes tight with self-control. He seemed to have sobered up a little as he pushed himself upright. Thank you for helping me just now, Miss Keller. I'm fine here. You can go back. Watching him pant for breath, like his last thread of reason could snap at any moment, I couldn't help curling my lips. From the moment I read those files, I'd already decided David would be my future fiancé. If I'd wanted to walk away clean, I would have sent him straight to the hospital just now, not the hotel room. With that in mind, I swung a leg over and settled onto David's lap. I felt his breath hitch. David, isn't it exhausting, holding back like this all the time? My hand slid up to his throat, fingertips resting on his ceaselessly moving Adam's apple. David's pupils constricted, a low sound escaping his throat despite himself, though he still tried to keep up the act. I don't understand what you mean, Miss Keller. Please don't. Before he could finish, I hooked an arm around his neck and kissed him. While he was still stunned, my hand slipped under the hem of his shirt, finally landing on the abs I'd been dying to touch. 8 solid blocks, perfect. I was just about to continue my exploration when my hand was suddenly seized. Instead of pulling it away, he pressed it firmly against his stomach, breathing hard. I leaned in close to his ear. Stockings, photos, none of that compares to having the real me, does it? The moment the words left my mouth, David's whole body shuddered. It was like all his defenses collapsed in an instant. In the next second, David tore off his gold-rimmed glasses. His warm hand clamped down on the back of my neck and he kissed me hard, deeper and fiercer than I had kissed him, conquering every inch, as if he wanted to crush me into his body. By the time I finally came up for air, there wasn't a trace of shame in his eyes at having his dirty little secrets exposed. Instead, there was a gleam of joy, relief at no longer having to pretend. A true Yandra indeed. Nancy, you're the one who came after me this time. Later, even if you beg for mercy, I won't stop. Bullet comments, groundhog shriek. Ah, I did not expect the villainess and the villain's first time to be initiated by the villainess. Big sis is so dominant, I'm in love, I want her to slap me too. Who understands the sheer value of a ship that grows a mouth of its own? Their progress is insane, I hadn't even processed it and they're already speeding down the highway. The veins on the villain's hands are about to burst. Just imagining what the villainess is going to go through later makes my tears spill out from the corner of my mouth. Just keep going, don't stop. I've got plenty of data, I can watch for 2 hours straight, no problem. In a dizzy whirl, David flipped me beneath him. At some point he'd already torn his shirt open, baring his chest, his abs, and that perfect V-line. I couldn't help swallowing hard. David's lips trailed from the bridge of my nose, to my mouth, down along my neck. I suddenly thought of something and pushed him lightly. Wait. Facing his aggrieved, impatient gaze, I felt a little embarrassed. I haven't taken a shower yet. At that, David laughed and scooped me up in his arms, his voice especially seductive. That's fine. We can go together. Nancy, I can't wait anymore. I definitely won't let you go tonight. No sooner had he finished speaking than the bathroom door slammed shut. Bullet comments, What's going on? Why are you shutting me out too? Open the door, I haven't gone in yet. I knew they wouldn't let us see everything, but at least we can still hear it. I should be grateful. Help, the villain's voice is so intoxicating it's making my scalp tingle. Boo-hoo, even if we can't see, the villain and villainess had better go at it hard where I can't watch. You're not allowed to stop before dawn, I'll bless you both. In the haze, I realized for the first time just how long a man's fingers could be. The calluses on his hands caught me off guard again and again, sending shivers rippling through me. Fortunately, David had an excellent sense of service. No matter how desperate he was, he always put my feelings first, until he realized later that I was saying no but meaning yes, and then he stopped holding back. By my ear was his nearly hoarse whisper. Nancy, be good. Open your eyes. You look beautiful in the mirror. The next morning, I woke up from sheer lack of air. When I opened my eyes, I realized my face was buried in his solid chest. David's big hand was wrapped around my waist, holding me tightly against him. I'd been worked over so thoroughly last night that I didn't have an ounce of strength left. I could only wiggle a little, trying to wriggle out of his arms, but the moment I managed to pull away even a little, he dragged me right back in. David opened his eyes and looked at me in a daze. Annoyed, I slapped his chest. What? Don't recognize me? Don't tell me you've forgotten what happened yesterday. Only then did his gaze finally focus. He hugged me even tighter, burying his face in the crook of my neck and rubbing against it. No, I was just afraid everything from yesterday was another dream. I picked up on the hint immediately. So you have dreams like that a lot? David didn't answer, but his ears flushed again, filling with color. I truly didn't understand how a man could be both this pure and this sinful at the same time. I took the opportunity to bite down hard on his shoulder. Does it hurt? I asked deliberately. Now you know you're not dreaming, right? I'd expected at least a resentful glare in return, but instead David only brushed a few gentle kisses against my lips. Nancy, aren't you tired from biting? If not, the other side wants a bite too. Use as much strength as you like. So I sank my teeth into his other shoulder as well, even harder than before. He held me tight, letting out a muffled groan. Wait, did I just bite him into feeling good? It wasn't until he saw the bite marks on his shoulders that David finally showed a satisfied smile. Perfect. I've been marked by Nancy. From now on, I can only belong to you. Meeting David's soulful gaze, my heart couldn't help but skip a beat. I suspected this man was seducing me, but I had no proof. Sure enough, in no time he was on top of me again, whispering against my ear. I feel like the drug still hasn't worn off. Nancy, help me a little more. Before I could answer, his mouth was on mine again. Unsurprisingly, we extended the room for another whole day. The next morning, I told David I wanted him to be my fiancé. He agreed without a moment's hesitation, his fingers paused halfway through buttoning his shirt as he instinctively moved to pull me into his arms. I hurriedly stepped back, keeping a full meter between us. Otherwise we wouldn't make it out the door again today. No one had warned me that once a man got a taste, he'd be this relentless. Because I had just called off my engagement with Noah, for the sake of the company's reputation, I decided to wait a while before making our new engagement public. David was clearly reluctant, but he still agreed. But as soon as I got back to the office, I received a call from my dad. I heard you're marrying David? I froze on the spot. Bullet comments, burst into laughter, ha 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 ha, the villain's terrified the villainess will change her mind, he's been racing around telling everyone. In the villain's defense, you said we couldn't make it public, you never said I couldn't tell the people around me. Full marks for reading comprehension. Don't worry, villainess, it's not like he told that many people, just a bunch of his friends, his grandparents, and your entire extended family. He didn't tell anyone else. You really can't blame him. He's like the villainess for so many years, now that they're finally together, of course he wants the whole world to know so she can't dump him so easily. Later even Jess called to tease me, not bad, girl. You locked him down in a single day. So? Isn't that repressed guy David impressive? I was a little dazed. How did you know the repressed guy I mentioned was David? Jess sounded utterly speechless. You're the only fool who doesn't know David likes you. The rest of us have all known for ages. Every time he looks at you, it's like he wants to devour you whole. All those society girls who tried to get close to him before? He never even spared them a glance. Listening to my best friend talk about how much David liked me made me feel guilty for no reason. After all, I still didn't know what exactly I felt for David. I just wanted to find a man with decent conditions to marry, something physical, not emotional. Thankfully, most of the people who heard about David and me offered their blessings. Of course, there were a few who didn't, including Noah's mother, David's stepmother, Yi Mei. In the cafe, Yi Mei beamed at me with an ingratiating smile. Nancy, I heard this place is your favorite. Try this new flavor and see what you think. I didn't reply, just quietly studied the woman in front of me. Back when I was still Noah's fiancé, Yimay's attitude toward me always carried a subtle air of superiority, as if I were obligated to curry favor with her just because she was his mother. This was the first time I'd seen her like this. Auntie, just say what you came to say. I'm busy, I don't have that much time. I didn't give her a chance for small talk. She let out an awkward laugh. It's nothing much, Nancy. I know Noah went a bit too far this time, but he's just been bewitched by that little vixen. Yimay lowered herself, her tone almost humble. I know you like Noah too. You're only doing this to make him angry, right? Just give him one more chance. I couldn't stop a laugh. Auntie, who gave you the confidence to think I like Noah? Her smile froze. I went on, the breakup announcement is out. Noah and I are impossible now. From here on out, even if I picked a stray cat or dog, it wouldn't be him. Seeing that soft tactics wouldn't work, Yimay's gaze turned cold, her face shifted in an instant. You really think that by not choosing Noah, you and David can live happily ever after? Don't forget, David's father listens to me more than anyone. All it takes is one word from me and you can forget about ever entering our Fisher family's doors. I twisted my lips into a faint smile, stirring the coffee in my cup, my tone lazy. Auntie, aren't you mistaken? Your Fisher family doesn't have a monopoly on men in this world. You have the right to choose, and so do I, Nancy Keller. I have plenty of options. Your Fisher family is hardly my only choice. The moment I finished, Yimay's face darkened even more. Just then, the door at the entrance opened. I turned and saw David walking in from outside. I froze. Don't tell me he heard that. Bullet comments, villainous, don't doubt it, he absolutely heard. Who can handle the villain's expression right now? It screams, you've kissed me and slept with me, and now you don't want to take responsibility? So aggrieved, and weirdly hot. Girl, you're done. There's no way you're getting through tonight without paying for this. I want to see it, I live for it. Villain, don't you dare go easy on the villainess tonight. Reading the bullet comments, my knees went a little weak. David had already reached our table. He pulled me behind him and looked at Yimay, expressionless. My affairs don't require your concern, Ms. May. And please remember your place. Before my mother passed away, you were only our housekeeper. If it hadn't been for the boy you were carrying then, you might never have gotten through the Fisher family's door. With that, David moved to take me away. Behind us came Yimay's furious voice. David, stop right there. I am still your elder, how can you talk to me like that? Aren't you afraid I'll complain to your father and have him strip you of your position as general manager? At that, David halted, his voice frozen over. You'd better go find out who really calls the shots in the Fisher family now. The only reason he's still sitting in that chairman's seat is because I allow it. Don't test my limits. Behind us came the sharp crash of Yimay slamming her cup down. I had to admit, David did have the capital to talk like that. I'd only learned recently that the Fisher Group had been founded by David's parents together, and his mother's family had invested a huge amount of money. All those shares would ultimately go to David. Which meant that David's dad, the so-called chairman, was already a mere figurehead. David was the real power behind the Fisher family. On the drive back, David didn't say a word, quietly focusing on the road. Only now and then did he glance at me, his eyes full of grievance and wounded resentment, as if I were the worst heartbreaker in the world. It actually made me feel a little guilty. How could I have said those things? I was awful. After dropping me off, David insisted on walking me all the way to my door. I unlocked it and was just about to turn around and say goodbye, when a firm pair of arms suddenly wrapped around me. With a bang, David kicked the door shut. By the time I realized what was happening, he'd already pressed me up against the wall, his head buried deep in the curve of my neck. A moment later, I felt a damp warmth against my skin. I couldn't quite believe it. David, are you crying? Bullet comments, help, who understands this feeling, men's tears are women's aphrodisiac. First time seeing my favorite character cry and my first reaction isn't heartbreak, it's excitement. Villainous, don't you dare spare this crying villain, bully him hard. Damn girl, you're eating so well. When are you letting me guest star for a couple of episodes? David's choked voice brushed my ear. Nancy, please, please don't leave me. Without you, I can't go on. His words made my heart ache for no reason. Just how much did this man like me? I cupped his face and saw that the corners of his eyes were already red. He didn't seem to care about showing such a sorry sight, he only looked up at me, pitiful and pleading. Does Nancy hate me? I shook my head at once. Of course I don't. No sooner had the words left my mouth than David leaned in and kissed me, tongue teasing, the kiss deep and lingering. I know Nancy doesn't really love me yet, he murmured, but please, just give me a little more time. I'll definitely make you fall in love with me. As he spoke, he caught my earlobe between his lips, sending shivers down my spine. Bullet comments. Wait, why does it feel like the villainess and the villain grabbed the wrong script? No mistake at all, this woman top, man bottom dynamic is delicious. Villainess, just say yes already. Look at how cheap the villain's acting. How is this any different from a top courtesan in old times seducing a client? In a daze, I think I nodded. David's lips curled in satisfaction. Good girl, Nancy. I'll make you feel good. With that, his head slowly began to move lower. When he reached a certain spot, I suddenly grabbed his hair. David. Everything else was swallowed by the tide, drowned beneath wave after wave. All I could do was cling desperately to David's shoulders. Even when it was all over, I still didn't really understand how things had escalated to that point. In the days that followed, David simply moved into my place. The nice-sounding excuse was that I'd promised to give him time to make me fall in love with him, so naturally he couldn't waste even a single second. Every time I couldn't take it anymore and tried to kick him out, David would look at me with those pitiful eyes. So Nancy saying she didn't hate me before was a lie after all. Then he'd give a bitter little laugh. I knew it. I was never someone who deserved to be loved. Who would have thought that the same President Fisher who was so decisive and ruthless in the business world could be this scheming in private? And of course, I just happened to fall for it every time. I could only feel sorry for him, coax him, and in the end, let him eat me clean. Beauty really does ruin people. Gradually, I started to look forward to it. Every time I got off work, I'd find myself wondering what David had made for dinner that day. Whether he was still cooking in just an apron with no shirt underneath. Whether he was wearing the cat ears I'd bought him. The more I thought about it, the less I wanted to work overtime at all. I'd clock out right on time and head straight home. Bullet comments. Sis, you're doomed. You've fallen in love. Watching the villainess and the villain living happily together, I feel this strange, inexplicable sense of relief. It's just a pity the male and female leads are about to come back. I really hope the villainess can stand firm and stop letting them lead her around by the nose. If she betrays the villain again, I'll get on my knees and beg her not to. Later, David took me to meet his grandparents. The old man and old lady liked me a lot. David's grandmother even slipped the imperial green jade bracelet off her own wrist and onto mine. This has been passed down for generations. It should have been David's mother who gave it to you, but unfortunately. Her voice choked up. Thank goodness David has you now. You two must live well. My own eyes stung with heat. After that, we discussed it and decided to announce our engagement at the Fisher family's new product launch. The day of the launch arrived in no time. David and I were busy greeting our business partners when I suddenly saw Noah and Elizabeth walking in through the doors. David's grip on my hand tightened. I knew he'd always been very insecure. He was afraid Noah's appearance would change my mind. I only smiled, patted the back of his hand, and gave him a steady look. Only then did David relax a little. When Noah saw me, he strutted over with a smug expression. Nancy, didn't you already break off your engagement with our family? What are you doing at our launch? Don't tell me you heard I was coming back and rushed over to beg me. Clearly, Noah still didn't know I was getting engaged to David. And thanks to David's request, Yimei hadn't been allowed to attend today's launch at all. I didn't say anything, just looked at Noah with an amused expression. The gazes of the people around us gradually shifted our way. Elizabeth suddenly grabbed my hand, eyes red. Nancy, I'm sorry. I tried, but I just can't forget brother Noah. Could you let us be together? I promise I'll behave myself from now on and never disturb you too. I was speechless. So what, you're planning to keep being the other woman? I pulled my hand back and wiped it with a napkin. And don't call me, sis. If I'm remembering right, you're a year older than me. Her eyes reddened further. What are you talking about? Brother Noah and I are just good friends. I nodded. Good friends who sleep together. Elizabeth opened her mouth to say something else, but I cut her off. Anyway, whatever the two of you are now has nothing to do with me. Whether you want to be the mistress or the side piece, there's no need to report it to me. These brain-rotting little lines of yours, save them for Noah's future wife. Hearing that, the people around us started snickering, especially the rich ladies. They were all old foxes themselves, how could they not see through her act? Elizabeth threw herself into Noah's arms, sobbing. Brother Noah, that's not what I meant. Noah's brows drew together. Nancy, do you have to be so harsh? I know Elizabeth doesn't have a powerful family or fancy background, and you all look down on her. But she has me. I order you to apologize to her right now, or I'll never look at you again. Smack. The moment he finished talking, I slapped him. What, did I forget to hit you before? You're that eager to come over and get smacked? What exactly do you think you are to stand in front of me and say something like that? Bullet comments. Has anyone thanked the male lead yet? Nice slap. Villainous, can you slap the heroine too? I've been sick of this crazy pair of clown royals for ages. They really think they're the center of the universe and everyone revolves around them? Big sis is amazing. I want her to hit me too. Noah, furious, raised his hand, but David caught his wrist in one swift move. Noah had always been a little afraid of this big brother. His tone instantly lost its edge. Bro, this is between me and my fiancé. Stay out of it. It's my fiancé now, David said flatly. What? Noah thought he'd misheard. Just then, the host came over to tell us it was time to go on stage to announce the engagement. Noah didn't catch that part clearly, all he heard was engagement, and assumed they meant me and him. He put on that arrogant face again. Nancy, if you don't apologize to Elizabeth, don't even think about me going on stage to announce our engagement with you. I only smiled. Under Noah's gaze, I took David's arm and walked up onto the stage. When the announcement of my engagement to David rang out, Noah's face turned chalk white. Then David's grandfather stepped onto the stage to declare that they had transferred all their shares into their grandson's name. From now on, the Fisher family would be completely under David's control. Hearing that, Noah stumbled back a few steps in disbelief. He turned to look at David's dad, only to see helpless resignation on his face. Shaking his head, Noah tried to charge the stage, but the bodyguards blocked him. All he could do was shout in impotent rage, "No, that's impossible. Nancy, didn't you like me the most? How could you get engaged to my brother? Did he force you?" "Yeah, that's it, he must have forced you. Tell me and I'll save you." I looked at him, utterly done. Noah, is your head completely full of water? With a fiancé as outstanding as mine, what makes you think I'd ever still want you? Do us all a favor and go look in a mirror. Just seeing you makes me sick. Noah stared at me in utter despair. No, that's not right. It can't be. They said I'm the male lead, you're only supposed to love me. This can't be real. David's fingers moved in the slightest gesture, and the bodyguards promptly tossed Noah and Elizabeth out. Finally free of those two eyesores, I felt my whole body relax. I smacked a loud kiss onto David's cheek. Right there under everyone's gaze, I watched David's ears turn red again. I was starting to really enjoy teasing this man in front of me. Later, on the hotel balcony, I was leaning against the railing, enjoying the breeze, when a big hand suddenly wrapped around me from behind. I caught the faint scent of cedarwood clinging to him. David rested his head on my shoulder, nuzzling lightly. I reached back to stroke his hair, and he obligingly lowered his head a little so it would be easier for me. Feeling better now? I asked. I've told you all along, I don't like Noah. David's voice was muffled. Nancy, when it comes to you, I'll always feel a sense of crisis. But that's not because I don't trust you. It's the standard I set for myself. Only if I'm good enough do I deserve to keep you by my side. This man, how was he so good with words? Seeing that none of the guests nearby were looking our way, I couldn't resist turning around, grabbing his tie, and crashing my lips against his. I didn't stop at a light taste either, I kissed him like a conquest, stealing every bit of air from his lungs. A muffled sound escaped his throat as his breathing went ragged. Nancy, don't tease me. I won't be able to hold back. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Who told you to hold back? We've already done everything that needs doing. The rest of the event can be left to the staff. At that, something in his eyes snapped, like a beast finally ripping off its mask. In the next second, my feet left the ground as David swept me up into his arms and carried me off toward the parking garage. For the entire second half of the launch, no one saw President Fisher or his wife again. After the launch, David completely tore off all pretenses with the Fisher family. In the end, he obtained the vast majority of the Fisher family's assets. After all, without David's mother, David's dad was just a farm boy who'd made it to college. As for May and Noah, they only got a very small share. Eventually, Noah did marry Elizabeth. In theory, the male and female leads getting married should mean happily ever after. But from what I heard, they argued constantly. Noah burned through money like water, and Elizabeth kept secretly sending money back to her family. Later, Noah gambled away what they had left and started beating her, so badly he even caused her to lose the baby she was carrying. Elizabeth wanted a divorce, but Noah refused, and the two of them are still tangled up with each other to this day. As for David and me, in October of the following year, we held a grand wedding. Nancy, I finally get to be your husband, David said, his voice brimming with joy. I leaned in close to his ear and whispered, Honey, have I ever told you that I'm very, very in love with you now? At those words, I thought I saw tears glimmer at the corners of his eyes. He lifted me up and spun me around several times, like a victorious general returning from battle. In the future, we might still face many hardships. But with the one we love by our side, every storm we weather will simply become another witness to our love.